Hi, welcome back to welcome back for another Wednesday's episode. As you can see, there has been a slight name change from beautiful little mind talk to raising beautiful little minds. So yeah, that's a small change. So let's get on with this week's video. This week we're going to talk about sensory. Now, every person has sensory issues. Some people just it's not a big deal. Some of them refer to it as being allergic. I'm not really going to be talking about being allergic in this video, because that's not really special needs. At least not my experience anyway. But we are going to talk about sensory issues. Now let's talk about this little dude. And yes, Leo. The camera, yes. Mommy's recording. So when did I know my son had some sensory issues? Well, it wasn't until 2.5 to almost 3 years old. Now, before then, there was no sensory issues that I could definitely tell, even going back now. But this is my little back history on what's been my experience back then. Okay, so it was the summertime, and he would start screaming and crying every time. Yes, every time a lawnmower was started being switched on and started cutting the grass, he would start screaming. The first few times I didn't link them both together, but shortly after, yeah, I couldn't take him for walks. I couldn't, yes, I couldn't play with him in the garden. And if somebody was cutting the grass, I would put him to the front of the house or the back of the house, depending on where somebody else was cutting their grass. So that was a really bad eye opener. But back then, I didn't know that it was sensory issue related. Okay, so let's deal with how I dealt with this issue when he was 2.5. Now that he is 4. Well, when he was 2.5, I thought, well, what can I do? So you always hear of white noise. Yes, so I would put on YouTube and I would type in white noise lawn machines, and then slowly increase the volume until he was able to tolerate it. And I will say, when he was 2.5, this worked. But a month afterwards, cutting the grass was not an issue because now he has adapted to that noise. And I would definitely recommend trying this for your first attempt to help your child or yourself with any sensory issues that you may have. Sorry for the cameras moving around. It's due to this little dude right next to me. So yeah, try that first. And now let's talk about what happened after that when the YouTube was no longer working. Once lawn machines was no longer an issue in my son's life, it was about another probably year and a half before sensory issues started appearing then again. And they took in the form of two, and that was very strong bright lights from street lights. Which, okay, let's talk about that one first. This meant that, for example, on Halloween, if I took him out, he would scream to the point he would make himself fall asleep, so he wouldn't be able to see this light. So unfortunately, that destroyed a lot of Halloween experiences, certainly in this house. Another sensory issue you had was loud noises from the vacuum cleaner or the those good kitchen appliances in general. Like even the microwave, it was causing tears and crying, and I would again have to come up the stairs or just over the house when he wasn't at home. I got to a point where I thought, right, okay, well, I know what worked before, which is the white noise and YouTube, so let me do that again with different appliances. And I did this, and I did it over and over again, expecting it to get better, but to be honest, it didn't. Not this time. So this is when I started looking into alternative ways to help this little boy here recover from his sensory issues. I may add that yes, these are my son's sensory issues. Your child might have many sensory issues, and that could be from putting on clothes. So yes, so back to the saying, here we are, second time around. And how I dealt with it. Now, I did a video which I will link down below on the Nemecheck Protocol. Now, I went on this for his speech and sociability, but but less than a month being in that protocol, the eye issue, the noise issue that he had faced completely vanished. I would definitely, again, if you haven't looked into it, do try. And obviously, I've read that there's got some children's speech improve faster in the Nemecheck protocol. Some sensory issues get resolved first. It really depends on your child, but for my case, it was sensory issues that got resolved first. I recently had to take my daughter to a school disco. Normally my husband does it, but he wasn't able to do it because he was away working. So I was a bit dreading taking this boy out in the dark. But it's because he was perfectly fine. He didn't bother him at all. He didn't acknowledge the street lights, and that was a true test. Noise again. I can hoover. He can laugh he laughs when I hoover. Any kind of yes, any kind of kitchen appliance that I put on. Any kind of kitchen appliance that I put on, he's absolutely fine with it. Yes, yes, Liam. Yes, yes. So let's recap. First of all, I would suggest to help your child with sensory issues is try the YouTube white noise and then type in next to what it is. If it's something that is affects his ears, for example, that definitely helped me first. If it's something else like clothes sensitivity, I've heard that has been resolved also with the Nemecheck protocol. My son never had that issue, but I have heard from many parents that is you can resolve that as well. So first, YouTube, and and two, Nemecheck protocol. And I hope this video was useful. If you would like me to talk about another type of video, then please comment down below or send me a message on my Facebook support group, which is Parents of Children with Speech and Language Delay, or my Instagram page, Raising Beautiful Little Minds. So yeah, I hope to hear from you, but if I don't, then I will see you next Wednesday. Alright, thank you. Bye bye. Leo, bye bye. Oh, he's too busy watching TV. Okay, bye.